guys take a look at it and say, yeah, that's approved. That's the way we're going to do it. And it's just, it's pretty typical. Although some 3D modelers are particularly well talented and want a bit of freedom, so they don't ask for it as much. But even the good guys need a little bit of help sometimes. And I try to do nice detailed ones because I care about the 3D modelers that I work with, and the less time they need to spend, the less wasted time they need to spend, the better.
Okay. Thank you, Carlo, again for answering that question. And these next few questions, we're going to try to go through a little quickly, if possible, so we can wrap up our time. Actually, we may be able to ask these last few questions. So let's start with the one from Phil Liu. How did you start working at Blizzard?
Okay. At the time I was still working in the movie industry, and I was working on a bunch of, after working on larger movies, I was working on a bunch of lower budget movies, and I was curious about working in the video game industry because at the time I think there was a writer's strike, and it doesn't matter how good you are. Sometimes there's no work when there's a strike. So I sent my portfolio over to Blizzard, and the HR guy over there was not only did he like some of the movies that I worked on, but he was a big Dungeons & Dragons fan, and I did some illustrations for the Edition 3 Monster Manual, and he was geeked up about it. So he got me in an interview with the executive producer at the time, Mark Kern, and the art director at the time, Bill Petrus, and we just had a favorable meeting. And as soon as I walked in, I think I may have been just a little bit of a douche because I came from the Hollywood system where they really want you to walk in and act like a rock star so they feel like they're in good hands. And that's sort of not the situation with video games. But we got past that, and then I did a test for them, and they decided that they liked my artistic skills enough, and at this time I didn't have any 3D. They liked my artistic skills enough that they thought, well, let's just hire him and then teach him to 3D while he's here. So that's how I got my start with Blizzard.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carlo.
No problem.
Next question is from Julio Cesar Cano Isasa. I'm so sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly, Julio. But the question he asked, he doesn't have a microphone, by the way, is which creative solutions do you apply when you are blocked on developing a special character?
Well, it's all there under facts, I mean, if I can't figure out what the character will look like through form follows function, then I've got archetypes. I can look up archetypes, whether we're talking about death or the young idealistic woman or the jester. And then if that's not working, everything in that acronym is really helpful. Characterization, then you start thinking about character history, and character history will do things to the character, right? I mean, whether it's the clothes that he wears or the way he stands, things like that. It becomes, as soon as you start thinking in terms of storytelling, it becomes much more simple. Let's take a look at the Sith Lord real quick. So here's this guy. I'm designing a Sith Lord, but I thought to myself, well, what if the Sith Lord didn't want to rule the entire galaxy because it's just too hard? What's better, to rule the entire galaxy on a very superficial level, or to completely control a single city? So that's where the idea started happening. I go, oh, you mean like Kingpin? And so thinking of a Sith Lord like designed around the idea of a Kingpin really started to inform his shape. So yeah, I mean, if one thing doesn't work, I mean, there's enough tools in the toolbox to start screwing around with other stuff. And you'll find that the larger your mental library, the easier it is to be able to come up with these solutions.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Carlo, again for that. The next question comes from Michael. He asks, can you elaborate on your use of triangular shapes as opposed to other shapes?
Oh, I was just doing that to, the reason why I was using triangular shapes is I was just doing that to sort of break, and I use it as composition element, to break the golden section, you know. So the Vitruvian Man, the golden section, you know, something you'll see in the Parthenon. It's sort of seen everywhere, and if you stick to it too much, you start to get these kind of really boxy shapes, you know. You'll see it oftentimes in car designs and things like that. And so to create some more tension, I just start creating angles to it. And the triangle, pyramid, or whatever, what's nice about it is that it naturally creates a focal point. And you know, even the squares can be broken down into smaller triangles. Like from the tip of his claw to his shoulder point to the nose, there's a triangle right there. There's a larger triangle, you know, overall. Now, this creates a more dynamic shape than if I had built it simply on a square. And that's all I'm really talking about there. Let me give you an example. Look at, well, take a look at, say, the tumbler from Batman, and you'll see a bunch of these converging lines, creating points, you know, creating triangles. So it's really about trying to always create a sense of movement, even when the character is static.
Okay. Thank you again for that. Our next question is kind of similar to the one Julio asked, but this is from Fernando Isamo. I'm not sure if Fernando has a mic or not. I'm going to check really quick. Fernando, are you there? Fernando? Okay, no mic is broken. So the question is, I would like to know, with your mind sometimes when it stays blank, and how do you resolve this kind of problem?
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah. It's just like anything. You feed your mind. You know, you look at really creative people. You watch movies. You sketch from life. It starts giving you ideas. But having sort of a set list of things that you know you have to do. How do I explain this? Have you ever seen the movie Adaptation? Because in Adaptation, there's a scene where the main character goes to a seminar with a movie writer named Robert McKee, and then the guy goes, well, you know, I want to write this movie, but I want it like real life where nothing happens. And then Robert McKee loses his mind because obviously in real life something's always happening. You know, a mother loses a child. You know, a child is born. You know, a man wins the lottery. A man shoots himself in the head. It's these things happen. And then it's the same thing with the storytelling. You know, if you or with design, sometimes if you're doing an alien creature, well, you ask yourself, is it crab-like? Is it deer-like? Is it whatever? I mean, there's always something there, you know? And it's not a question of whether or not you have, if you learn to look at it, whether or not you have inspiration. It's a question of whether or not that inspiration is something you can use, or whether or not you have the ability to be able to